Alright, so this is part 2 to what if female deku was muzan. No. Where we last left off, I believe it was when Kirishima and Mina were training with Deku. Now we do have a name for her now, so I'll go and grab it right now. So her name will be Miyu Yaoyorozu. So thank you, Mega Man Slowbro, for suggesting that. Alright, now... Oh, there we go. Alright, now we'll pick up at the end of their high school with them picking out their future careers with Miyu, Mina, and Kirishima applying for UA. Now there are people who have tried to bully Miyu, but anytime they tried to, they were put to the ground quickly afterwards. So nobody picks on Miyu, Mina, or Kirishima. As it gets to the end of the day, and as Yorichi, because remember, Yorichi is in this series, as Yorichi is leaving the building, he hears a sound like somebody is crying, as he would round the corner and he would see that Miyu was there. As he would ask her what was wrong, as she would quickly get on guard and say, she would immediately stop crying and say, "Yorichi, what are you doing here?" As he would ask her, why was she crying? As Miyu would begin to open up a bit and state, it's just that over the years, her sister and her parents have basically been pushing her to the side and ignoring her due to her not having a quirk. But one night her sister and father caught her training in using her combat form. As when she noticed them, they ran back inside, calling her a demon, and basically kicked her out of her house. So she's just been she's been living on her own in an apartment. Since she had been saving up in the case that she was kicked out, she's been saving up all of her money. So she's able to buy a 1-bedroom apartment. As Yorichi would be disgusted by this, at how somebody could kick at how her family could treat her like this. The well-known Yaoyorozus could treat one of their children like this. As Yorichi would comfort her, as he would say that, so you're no longer, so you're not the heartless killer I knew back then. As she would state that yes, she has changed. She has changed a lot in this new body. She's basic. She hasn't. She due to her having due to her having human emotions now, she has felt all the regret and guilt of all the people that she had killed. And it's just basically been piling on and on and on, along with the bullying from her parents. As in that moment, she was just letting it all out. As she would also state that she was sorry for turning her brother into a demon. As Yorichi would sit. Now I think Yorichi is quite a forgiving guy. I believe he is. Because I mean, the only time he's gone visibly angry was during his first fight with Muzan. That was the only time we've actually seen him visibly angry. As Yorichi would say that it was all right and it was all in the past. As he would also state that we've left those lives behind. We are different people now. As Miyu would say that he's right. And the 10 months of training shall begin with Yorichi joining in on Mina and Kirishima training with Miyu. As since Yorichi still has all this fighting experience from his past life, he's able to go toe-to-toe with Miyu when she's in her combat form. So Miyu would be training Kirishima and Mina in her normal form, but she would be training with Yorichi in her combat form. With her and Yorichi getting a lot stronger, to the point where they're both about twice as powerful as they were in their past lives. So, with that out of the way, Yorichi and Miyu's relationship has gotten stronger and stronger. Like, better and better, to the point where they've gone from acquaintances to friends, and to eventually to, like, really good friends. As they would, when the UA entrance exams rolled out, Miyu says to Yorichi, "How about we do a dare?" As Yorichi would say, "Okay, what is the dare?" As Miyu would say, whoever gets the lower score on the entrance exam will have to do what the other person says. As Yorichi, who would agree to this, and so would Miyu, as they would enter the auditorium, and as they were listening to President Mike talk about the 0-pointers, the point robots, the 1-pointer, the 2-pointer, and the 3-pointer, a blue-haired boy jumps up and states that there are 4 robots here stated on the sheet and not 3. If this is a mistake on UA's part, I am very disappointed. As President Mike says, as Miyu would stand up and say that President Mike was literally just about to talk about that, and that if you were more patient, he would have been talking about it, and we would have gone through this a lot faster. As as Ida, being completely shut down by Miu, would immediately sit down in embarrassment as people would let out a little snicker as they would begin the written portion of the exam, with Miu getting first place and Yurichi tying for first place in the entry with the written portion, and Mina and Kirishima getting second and third. Since, like I stated in the last part, they are both smarter than their canon counterparts, due to Miu being their tutor. As they would then get to the physical portion with Yurichi, Mina, and Kirishima being put in different sections, with Miu being in the same section as Ida and Uraraka, as Miu would begin to walk to the entrance. Begin to walk to the big gate to get a better head start. Ida would grab her shoulder and state what are you doing? Were you going to go and talk to that girl to distract her? As he would point towards Uraraka, as Miu would then grab Ida's arm by the wrist, as she would begin to apply more and more pressure to it, stating, "Look, I am here to get this exam done with. I'm not here to distract people or interfere with their success. So if you could kindly go the hell away." As she would then push Ida's arm back to him, as Ida would be pushed back a bit, as she would then begin to walk towards the entrance. Now everybody's looking at her. Like, she's wearing something like this right now, as everyone, like, without the apron, she's wearing basically that, as people would think she looks very weak. As Present Bike would begin the countdown, Miu would immediately shift into her combat form, as she would just run through the gate and start blitzing all the robots, with people calling her out, saying that she should be expelled from the entrance exam, with Present Mike saying that there are no countdowns in a real villain battle, follow her lead and go, 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 as she would still be blitzing all the robots, with her getting pretty high scores. With a pretty high score, I'll say about, within the first minute, she gets about 50 villain points. As she would continue gaining points to where she gets 100 points, where she would then just take a break and shift back to her normal state, as she would sit down on top of a building, with her thinking to herself in her head, did she go overboard? With her hearing a scream and somebody calling for help, as she would see that Uraraka was stuck underneath the rubble, with Miu immediately jumping down to the streets below, as she'd begin to run towards Uraraka to try and rescue her, as she would then lift the rubble up, but the robot was already above them, as she would turn back to her combat form, as the bone spikes and tendril things would come out from her back. If you've seen the manga, then you know what I'm talking about. As they would begin to shred the 0-pointer, as she would get the rubble up and basically carry Uraraka to safety, where President Mike would say that time was up, as she would shift back to her normal state, with Recovery Girl coming in and healing Uraraka, as she would then head out to her place, as now her and Yorichi actually came over to hang out with her, as Yorichi had already gotten his letter, so he came to open his letter to see what his score was, and what Miyu's score was, as All Might would pop up on screen, as he would state that Yorichi had gone 100, about 50 villain points and 100 hero points, and Miyu had gotten 100 villain points and 60 hero points, as Yorichi would realize that Miyu, or Muzan, had won the bet, as Alme would say that they will be in Class 1A and welcome to Your Hero Academia. With Yorichi saying, "Alright, so what is the dare?" As Miyu would say that Yorichi will have to go out on a date with her. As Yorichi would look confused, as he would ask her if she was joking, with her responding with, No, I'm not joking," with Yorichi bursting out laughing, saying that you could have just asked and we wouldn't have had to do the dare. As Miyu would realize this and immediately got flustered, as she would bury her face in her hands, as Yorichi would say, "Alright, I agree to this dare," as he would ask, "So what time and day?" As she would say, "Sometime around the weekend and a random time." And that is not where I'm going to leave it off. I bamboozled you guys, didn't I? Alright, so we're going to cover their date now. So Yorichi is from a pretty rich family. So now his last name is still Tsujikuni, as he would still have still be quite wealthy. So they go to like a very nice restaurant where they end up talking about their experiences from their current lives, and once they go out of the restaurant after they'd paid the bill and ate the food, they would then talk about the experiences they had in their past lives. So she would go. Mui would basically go on about how she didn't show it, but it was incredibly tense being the Demon King in her past life, because now that she has human emotions, she could literally feel the intensity that she was giving off to the other demons. As Yorichi would talk about his experience being a demon slayer, and how intense their fight was, as Miri would agree, stating that he actually thought that she was going to die during that fight, before she could remember that she could blow herself up and send her meat chunks all over the place. With Yorichi saying, "Yeah, that was actually quite surprising that she had done that." With their date night finishing off, as Yorichi would say that he had a lovely time and that they should do this more often, as Miyu would say that say that she had also enjoyed it as well, as she would basically kiss Yorichi on the cheek as she would say goodnight as she'd head back into her apartment. As Yorichi was left there standing with a red lipstick mark, like a red kiss mark on his cheek, as he would then walk back home. With once Yorichi getting home, his mother seeing the kiss mark on his cheek and her saying in like a very teasing voice, "So you finally got a girlfriend," as Yorichi would immediately turn red and just walk to his room embarrassed. And that is where I'm going to leave it off. I do hope you guys enjoyed this, and I will see you guys later today with part 2 of What If Female Deku is Tanjiro. So see you guys next time.